Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jay Michaels, and I am absolutely gushing. I just finished watching an Oscar-nominated film. Now, that's part of the reason I was excited to watch it. The main reason was the film itself. I just watched I Am Not a Robot. This is a short film from the Netherlands that's up for an Oscar. Now let me give you some backstory here. Science fiction and horror films seem to have creeped, for lack of a better term, into the main nominating categories of the Oscars. For those of you who remember, in I think it's 2017, The Shape of Water won for Best Picture. Now, if you look at The Shape of Water from a fan's point of view, it's the creature from the Black Lagoon simply getting the girl. Then we had Parasite. Then we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was basically Marvel's multiverse put to this amazing, deeply moving film. Well, here we have another one. In 22 minutes, this amazing science fiction film has basically covered every hot button topic that you have seen out there, that you have spoken about anywhere. We have misogyny, we have the Me Too movement, we have prejudice, we have race. There's so much in there. There are moments I just sit and say, they just covered that, they just did that, they just talked about that. And they did it by basically saying to us, here's the next level of AI. It's well, I'm not gonna speak because I'm just gonna gush. I'm gonna introduce you now to Trent, one of the producers for I Am Not a Robot, and I'll let him talk about this film. Trent, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Do you want me to talk about the film, or?
Oh, please. I would love it. Tell us all about the film. Tell us all about this movie. I'm going to simply gush like a fan. So let's hear the mature version from one of the producers.
Well, I hope you will give me some questions in the meantime, because I don't think I can talk for half an hour. No, it's nice how you introduced the film, because you were mentioning these big themes that indeed the film definitely gets into. And of course, there's also stuff like gaslighting and labeling, which is also in the film. Feminism, or fake feminism, actually, it's also in the film. But it's nice because when Victoria started writing this idea, well, first she had the idea, which was like 5 or 6 years ago even, and she was sitting behind the computer and she was doing a CAPTCHA. And since we all know CAPTCHA, I mean, she did it 4 or 5 times and she failed 4 or 5 times. And then she was thinking, oh, that would be kind of funny thought, like this could be funny if I found out in this way that I'm a robot. And she mentioned this to me and she said, oh, that might be an interesting and funny idea for a film. And it is a funny idea for a film, I think. So then she started to think about it. And then, of course, when she starts to write about this film, then on a subconscious level, all these themes, because all these themes are in her head. I mean, that's how her life is. That's how her mind works. So all these themes, they get down to the script because it's her that's writing it. And she never thought before writing the script, oh, I'm going to say something about misogyny, or I'm going to say something about feminism or whatever. It just boils down to the script because it's her. And that's what I really like about it, because it's not in your face a film about feminism or about being in control of your body or gaslighting or labeling or am I human or not. This is not what the film is just about. You know, the film is an entertaining film about a woman who finds out, am I a robot or not? And then because Victoria writes it grabs all these other themes in there, diversity, indeed a little bit of racism, but it's just like subtle tiptoeing around these themes. And that's what I really like from Victoria.
I was going to say, that's what makes it so brilliant. It's like whenever I see someone do wine tasting, they'll sip the wine and they'll say, I sense oak, and there's the taste of strawberry and all of this, and these little subtle notes, as they say, in them. And your film is like a fine glass of wine. There's all these subtle notes. There's no point where I said, oh yeah, they're talking about gaslight. No, it's like these little words, these little things. Down to when the lead Lara called customer service to find
Yeah,
out why she can't get back into the computer. Again, this perfectly passive aggressive voice on the other side says, "Well, ma'am, might be a robot. It's not the first time."
yeah,
And there were so many moments, little whispers somewhere, a little phrase somewhere. So you really get each and every theme, but
yeah,
but it's not banged over the head. Uh,
exactly. Yeah,
your lead, ironically, you also made me question there because the way she was made up for this, she was very almost expressionless. So again, we as an audience were sitting there going, "Is that a robot?" Uh, you you you've said this was basically in Victoria's head when she wrote it. Was there ever a realization, like after it was done and you're watching it, did you look at each other and say, "Oh wow, did you know we just put that in there? Do you see that message that we're doing?" Or was it dawned on you like it dawned on all of us?
no, it didn't dawn on us like that, because before we were shooting, of course, Victoria wrote the script, and when Victoria writes a script, it's very precise. So every line that's in the film has been written. Even almost the movements of the actors have almost been written. She's quite precise. So all the stuff that's in the film was already in the script. So all the themes and all the themes were already in the script, and they were also in the script in a subtle way. They were not very much in your face. So we knew it before filmmaking, and then of course during editing, it's not that during editing we were like, oh, this is something that we told, because we already knew in the script. But then in editing you can fine tune some stuff. For instance, this has nothing to do about theme, but it has to do about a little bit of comedy or realization moments. For instance, the moment you just mentioned with the service guy on the telephone, who's telling her about the captcha. At one moment, he asks her some questions. Did you restart your computer? Did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah, I did that. And then he says, and you're still not getting through? And she says, no, that's why I called. And then on set, Victoria wanted a long pause there. So there's silence there. And then she says, hello. But in between the no, that's why I called, and hello, during editing, we were like, oh, the silence is nice, but it could be nice if he taps something on a computer, like a couple of notes, and it's in the sound. And I think it's so subtle, but I think I wanted to say it's almost one of the funniest moments in the film. That's a bit exaggerated, but I love that moment. It's just the tapping of three notes on your computer, and it says something about, okay, he's seen this before. Probably he's saying on his computer, oh, here we have one again. And that is a moment that we did in editing, in the sound editing.
You did something very interesting with that. I didn't even realize that myself, but I know the feeling I got when that scene occurred. How many of us have called customer service somewhere and
Yeah.
and asked whatever, and we hear, "Well, sir," you basically have shown us that we can be frustrated just like she was frustrated by it.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
almost turning to us in this yet another trope. You're almost turning to us at some point and saying, "See, and that's a
Yeah.
robot. Are you a
Yeah.
robot?" Brilliant,
Exactly. Exactly.
brilliant. Are either you or Victoria science fiction fans? We're fans of the genre.
We are fans of the genre, but we are not like, I spoke to you before, every episode of Twilight Zone. We are not like that. But we do love genre films, but we don't go to conventions or see every genre film. But I mean, we both of us, we like many genres, and so we like to mix genres. So this is like a dark comedy sci-fi, and maybe and probably one of the next films could be like more fantasy sci-fi or more fantasy dark comedy. There will always be comedy with Victoria. That's like
Sure.
her main thing. There will always be comedy in there, but she tries to mix it with other genres, and hopefully one day she will make like a thriller dark comedy. I would love that. So I think that's also going to be there. Yeah.
I ask that question because this is a very familiar trope to us sci-fi and horror geeks. This is a very familiar trope, the notion of the automaton that you think is actually alive.
Yeah.
And this particular theme, yes, we've seen it in the Twilight Zone. We've seen it in different ways. You have elevated it so much. So I was wondering if you were a fan enough that you said, here it is, and now we're taking it to here. But no, I have an expression. Are you a genius by accident or on purpose?
We are both genius on purpose. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. You have elevated this theme, but you've made it subtle enough that we're watching the movie. We're not watching the theme. We're not watching. Yeah. We're not looking at it and saying, "Oh, there's the Twilight Zone." No, we're watching this movie, and when it's over, we get to say, "Wow, they have taken this to such a level. They have Rod Serlinged this beyond what we would imagine. Really impressive. Really, really impressive." Were there any difficulties or anything in filming it and creating it? What were the obstacles that you faced, or were there?
No, of course, there's always obstacles. But I also, before I get to the obstacles, I wanted to get back to what you were just saying, because I think why the film also works so well is that Victoria wrote this very relatable script. You know, it starts with the captcha. We all know it. It's very frustrating. And then the rest happens. And the rest happens, how she wrote it is that it's not based on some AI or some robot. All the reactions are based on her. So both of us, we see this woman who's having problems in this film by the fact that she might be a robot or not. For her, this is the most serious problem in her life at that moment. And we are treating it as that. We are treating it just like that. And so we are treating her as a human. And every reaction she has is very human-like. So I think it also works that even though she kind of finds out I might be a robot, you know, it also does work because at every step of the way, she acts like a human, even in the end, which I won't spoil. But everything is like, so that's also, and that's what Victoria wanted. She said, I will never depict her. I will always depict her as a human, always. And that's all that in all the the Twilight Zones and the other films, there's of course a lot of stuff has been made about this, but always there's a sign on, oh yeah, we know, we can see she's a robot, she's malfunctioning, or she's doing something with her eyes, or she has a tick, or it always is seen as a system. And in this film, she's seen as a human. But that was something.
The interesting thing that you do, this is the 21st century. I am not a robot. So many of us are saying, oh, okay, this is a science fiction fantasy. Okay, she might be a robot. But what you end up doing is twisting it around. I know halfway through, you know, when I started watching it, you know, you almost hope, you say, oh yeah, she's a robot, and you wait for the big reveal. But after about halfway through, I'm thinking, is she indeed a robot? Everything was human. She's acting human. Is this a commentary and she's not a robot? What's
you hope she's not.
Striking conclusion, which I won't give away either. To that striking conclusion, you do not know what's going on. And even at the conclusion, you don't know what's going on exactly. You still are questioning. You give us something to think about. A fine movie is the one that you get to go to the coffee house afterwards and you could talk about for hours.
Exactly.
This is certainly one of them. Really brilliant. What's the difficulties? I had asked before, what was the difficulties in making it? It looks so simple, but something tells me it wasn't.
Yeah, of course, there's always difficulties. And of course, making a film is not simple at all. Because there's many people that you make a film with. You have to find the financing, you have to find the proper location, all that stuff. And of course, there were some difficulties just because we happened to shoot it during COVID. And we had to postpone the shooting twice because people got COVID just before shooting. So the funding was the easy part on this film. But then when we got to the shooting, we had to postpone it twice, and we had to, I think we already wanted to shoot it somewhere in February or January 2022, or maybe even sooner. And then in the end, because we wanted to keep the cast, and the cast is quite familiar in the Netherlands, they have a lot of work. They do a lot of other stuff. So to get them together, we had to wait until May 2023. So before, when we initially wanted to shoot and when we finally shoot, there was like 16 months in between or something like that we had to wait. So that's a difficulty. Yeah, waiting. Another difficulty was well, I can say it was the final shot, but I won't say anything about the final shot at this moment. But there was definitely a difficulty. If you see the film and you think, how did they do it? Then you understand it's a difficulty, I think. And another difficulty was also, the shooting was really nice. We had great people, we had great preparation, we had a lovely crew in Belgium. So shooting was all really nice, but the editing was also difficult. And that's also because normally when I work together with Victoria, I do the first version of the cut, the first cut, because I try to make a version of the script that already kind of works. And then she can do the rest, which kind of works for us because I know her mind. I know how she thinks of it. And for a director, most of the time, the first cut or even the second cut is very difficult because a director tends to see all the stuff that has gone wrong because you have to see everything in the editing. And normally when you make a film, 90% of everything you've shot is thrown away because it's not good enough. So if you see all this 90%, you might think, oh, I'm not a good enough director. Maybe, I don't know. So I try to do the first cut and then Victoria does the next cuts. But when we were at like 75 or 80% of the editing, Victoria was still thinking she had made the worst film ever. And she even asked to me, okay, if we finish this short film and it's bad or it's not as good as I want, can we leave it on the shelf? I said, yes, of course, because we don't have distribution. We can leave it on the shelf. If we don't like it, we leave it on the shelf. It's not a problem. She was kind of reassured by that. And then I think when we were around 85% of the editing, she was like, yeah, okay, this film could be okay. But that's how Victoria's mind works. She really likes fine tuning. And up to that moment, she has doubts.
You bring up a really interesting question. I wasn't going to go here, but it seems like it's going to be a fascinating answer. Here you both are. Here she is basically saying, okay, this film is terrible. Okay, we can always put it on the shelf if necessary. And then you find out you are a nominee for the Academy Award.
Yeah.
How did it feel? What happened? What went through your mind when you got the note, the call, the whatever that says, guess what, you're a nominee?
Yeah, the nice thing is that you, fortunately, you don't get a call. And fortunately, you can, we got a call when we were landed on a shortlist. So that's when we got a call. But for the nomination, you can see it on a live stream on the Oscars website. And they just call out all these names. You know, they start with the nominees for Best Makeup, the nominees for Best Supporting Actress, and then the nominees for Best Live Action. And then they just name five titles in alphabetical order. So they started with the A. Then there was another film with the A. And then you're like, oh shit, there's only 3 places left. But then immediately they came with the I and they said, I'm not a robot. Well, how we reacted, you can see on the internet, because last week we posted a video of us reacting to that. And I can tell you, it's definitely faces that are very happy and very glad and very excited. Our dog was also very excited. And yeah, what goes through your head, it's kind of like, it's like a relief. It's like, because when we were on the shortlist, we were already really happy. We were like, oh, cool, we're on the shortlist. Because it's quite you start out with 180 of the best films for the last year. And then you land on the last 15. But then when we were at the last 15, we were like, oh, but now we want to be with the last 5 too, because then you get nominated and then your film gets said loud out on the Oscars website. So yeah, it was really a relief and happiness, but also something surreal, because as like a Dutch short film landing on the nomination list, the last time it happened was 1963. So
Really?
yeah, we did have some films on animation and documentary, but on live action, the last time was 1963. A short one.
62 years ago? What
I
are you
know.
talking about now? 62 years ago.
I know. It's insane. Yeah. Yeah.
It's rather ironic that no human being told you you're a nominee, that you have to do it on a computer
Yeah, but a
to
human being told it. They were being filmed. It was
or
like
being filmed.
yeah,
But
we are being filmed now. It was like a live Zoom stream. So it were 2 human beings were saying it. I hope so. They were human. No, I think so. They're quite famous. So they got all these names. But it was, of course, it's through a computer. Yeah, everything is through a computer now.
yeah, really. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. What's next? What's next for you both? What's the next thing?
The next step is that Victoria is writing the feature film on I'm Not a Robot, which means that everything, of course, it's not about a woman who finds out whether she's a robot or not, because that's a short film of 22 minutes. So it's a lot of stuff around the short film. It's a film with these characters. So the main character will be Lara, the same as in the short film. And yeah, if you see the short film, a lot of stuff happens before the short film. A lot of stuff could happen after the short film. And at the moment, Victoria is trying to find out what of this world she wants to tell in the feature version. So it's an adaptation of the short, but then as a feature.
What do you foresee being the difficulties or the issues in that? Because you have this perfectly set, as we spoke before I pressed record, 22 minutes in the human brain. That's why most sitcoms are 22 minutes. It's like that's when our brain cells basically turn over. So you have this perfect moment here. What do you see happening for a 2-hour film per se?
Well, I hope it will be 90 minutes or 100. We both think most films are too long at this moment. So we like 100 minutes. But the difficult thing is we made this short film, which does very well. And now Victoria has to write a feature, and she has to forget she made a short film about it, because the two mediums of short films and feature film, or this writing a script of a feature film, is another business than a short film. And she's written scripts of feature films before, but it's like you say, the 22 minutes is a wonderful time span. And what we did with the short film, you can get away with in a short film. If this film was more than 30 minutes, we probably wouldn't have gotten away with the idea that a woman finds out she's a robot through a CAPTCHA, or finds out that she's doubting about that. So in the feature film, there's something else. We don't know what, but the difficulty is the time frame. And you cannot make like 4 short films, put them after each other, and then you have a feature film. It's not gonna be like that. So the fact that you know that it's gonna be 100 minutes, that's the big difficulty, I think.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
I was also thinking, as you're talking about the short film versus the full length, the camera angles in this I thought were really marvelous. I know you had said Victoria is very precise. The camera angles all are very sharp. They're from different angles. We see extreme close-ups, and then there's the scene of her on the stairs trying to get in touch with her boyfriend. In a panic, you see her walking through hallways, people bothering her, everything seemed so claustrophobic. It seemed so tense. But once again, just like the dialogue, it was not, oh, look, they're being tense. It was, you just suddenly felt it because, again, these are the situations. You can't get a moment to reach someone. You get their voicemail again. You're finding a place to sit down quietly and speak to someone. There was so much to create this tension. That was all intentional. That was all part of the action.
It was in the script, yes. But for instance, the scene that you were talking about when she was going through the corridor and calling her boyfriend, Victoria and the DOP really wanted it to have it in one shot. And in the end, during editing, sometimes that works that way. You have one shot, and then in the total editing, that one shot, which was, I think, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, something like that, 5-0. So it was quite long. So then in the end, in the editing, we were like, it kind of drags a little bit. It was a little bit too long. And you cannot, or you can, but then you have to have more experience maybe. It's very difficult to foresee that in the script. So then we were like, okay, how are we going to do it? So then we even thought about, okay, maybe we have to do jump cuts to kind of shorten that scene. But both of us are not a big fan of jump cuts, especially when you want a one-shotter, a one-shot. So then we cut something from the beginning. So I think we cut 40 seconds from the beginning. And now it works. But then, of course, when you have this shot and the claustrophobic elements, those are all intentional, also with the extras. But then what really makes it claustrophobic are also the sounds. And you can add a lot of sounds. And then you add just some button of an elevator that's there to know, oh, there's people there. And then out of the frame, you hear a door open. Somebody is playing music. He's on his he's playing drums, and the door closes again. So you know, oh, there's someone out of frame, and someone just came out of frame, and playing with these sounds. Or there's a woman in the end of the corridor. She's taking paper and she's doing some copying on the copy machine, and you hear that sound, and that sound is actually a bit too hard. But it's good for us because probably she will be there and she hears this sound very hard because it comes in really hard. And those things that you can do with sounds, a lot of I think a percentage of the claustrophobic element also comes from these sounds. There seems to, it looks like there's more people there. It's really nice.
It looks like there's more people, but you quite brilliantly, the opening shot when she's in her office, you almost don't realize it's an office because it was so expansive. There was so much room and there were people far away. I almost thought she was in a restaurant or something like that. Big and open, you get a shot of everything outside the windows. It's this nice big thing. She's listening to music on her headset. And then when the music stops and the close-ups begin, it's like, well, ma'am, you might be a robot.
Yeah.
Everything after that, people talk, sometimes they lose their peripheral vision when they're terrified. And we got her terror so easily because, okay, everything's fine. I'm a human being. I'm at work. Wait a minute. And for the rest of the movie, really, it was that way. And then, like I say, I won't give away the ending, but again, there suddenly seemed to be this opening, and then we got tense again. And, well done.
Thank you very much.
So we can see this on the New Yorker website, I believe. And where else can, and it's going to be at the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Yeah, cool.
Which is absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to be chatting with a lot of the Boston sci-fi filmmakers very shortly. So I'm thrilled to inaugurate with yours. Tell the audience, okay, we can see it on New Yorker. If they wanted to, is there a website? Is there things, if they want to learn more about the movie, where do they go?
If they want to follow the movie, they have to follow it because Victoria is not, the director, writer is not on socials. But the company that made the film, Oak Motion Pictures, is on socials. So on Instagram, Oak Motion, or on Facebook, Oak Motion Pictures. That's where you can follow the story of the film. But that's also, and that's really nice, is also where you can also follow the story of the campaign. Because of course, the last round of the Oscars, we're trying to see, we get more people to see the film. And we're going to campaign for that. So we're going to have a screening in New York and a screening in LA. And of course, we will post about this on our socials, and we will post about this interview. We will post about other interviews. We will post about, well, Victoria maybe having some other ideas. I don't know what we'll do, but it's a nice way to follow the story of our film, our socials.
Please keep me posted on the New York. I'm in New York, so please let me
Cool.
know when you're doing that. I would love to come down. I'll bring a photographer. I'll bring a crew with me. I'd love to follow it even more. When are the Oscars? Do you know when the Oscars are?
To get back to your question, to your thing about on New York, the New Yorker is arranging a screening in New York for us, and I think it's the 7th of February.
Whoa.
But no, the 6th. The 6th.
That's next week. Oh my goodness.
I know. I will let you know. I will let you know. I will send you an email.
Yes, thank you. That'd be wonderful.
And the Oscars are on the 2nd of March in LA, in the Dolby Theater. And we ordered our tickets a few days ago. So we had an email from the Oscars that we, that everything is accepted. So we know we will be there.
Walk the red carpet. That's
for sure.
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And going to the Governor's Ball afterwards.
Oh.
They already gave us tickets for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, may you continue the tradition of genre films, making it to the Oscars and taking home the prize. This film is so worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival plays over 50 amazing independently made films of the genre, and you could see the quality. If there's an Oscar nominee amongst them, and may it be an Oscar winner, then you know the quality there. So please log on to bostonscififilmfestival.com to learn more about all of theirs, and visit Oak Motion Pictures on Facebook and Oak Motion on Instagram to learn about this. And I'll see you all in March at the Oscars, and let's all give this amazing film a standing ovation. Trent, thank you so much for being here. This has been absolutely wonderful. You've made a fanboy very happy chatting with me, and like I say, I wish you the absolute best, and please keep me posted on all the great success for this very worthy film.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Pleasure was mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.